What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel. We've got more Pathfinder 2nd Edition coverage coming at you today. It's going to be a little bit of a double speak. Some of the stuff we've already talked about. On Friday night, Paizo released their official blog where they detail, in a little more detail, the various modes of play, those being encounter mode, exploration mode, and downtime mode. We bring those up now for you today because as they talk about them more in depth, they reveal some feats that classes we haven't seen yet are gonna get. They reveal some really killer downtime stuff. And hey, on Monday it looks like we're getting more information on the 2nd edition Rogue. And of course, you know that means within a couple days, Black Dragon Gaming will have its video up covering the 2nd edition Rogue and everything we love and hate about it. Be sure to look for that and all the information you could ever want or need for Pathfinder 1st or 2nd edition right here. Speaking of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, our Doomsday Dawn adventure playthrough giveaway is well underway. We've reached our subscriber count by about a mile. Now we just need to get our Patreon up to about $150 so I can take some time off work to run you and a group of your lucky fellow subscribers who win the giveaway through the Doomsday Dawn adventure. If you'd like to enter, you can follow this card right here. As always, our Patreon is in the description. Speaking of Patreon stuff, real fast, this episode of your Pathfinder 2nd Edition preview content was brought to you in part by Joseph Harvilla. Joe, thank you for your time, thank you for your support. Now let's get to it, shall we? Before we talk about any of the nitty-gritty stuff, first things first, here's some concept art of a halfling. She's gonna hang out with us for this entire conversation, but all I have to say is, what exactly is attached to her staff? Is that a tea kettle? Is that a magic lamp? Is it maybe both at once? Obviously, that's up to her GM to decide. However, as always, Wayne Reynolds brings the fire, brings the thunder on another wonderful piece of Paizo art. I really dig it, and I really like that Paizo got this guy back to do everything, because really, would it feel the same without him? No, probably not. Now, for those of you who haven't been keeping up with Pathfinder 2nd Edition stuff, gameplay in Pathfinder 2nd Edition will be broken down into 3 modes. Encounter mode, which takes place in 6-second increments and is roll for initiative, fight! Exploration mode, which takes place in more of minutes or hours as you're going through the forest, talking to nobles, picking your way through the dungeon, basically where you're on camera, but not trying to kill things on camera, and downtime mode, this being classically where our wizard goes to craft items and our fighter goes to drink for 3 months while he waits for all of these cloaks and amulets and rings and stuff to get made. Now we have a little bit more detail on these things. Again, for those of us who are new to the conversation, in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, in combat, everyone has 3 actions. We can use these actions to stride, or move up to our move speed, strike, or take an attack, and yes, we can spend all 3 actions to attack, but our second attack takes a -5, our third attack takes a -10. 5-foot step has been renamed to just simply step, and in addition, all of the classes are gonna have a wide array of feats and skills and things that they can do in combat to make it to where you have to still go to the lab to build your character. Speaking of the lab, in encounter mode, we see new feats and abilities that our characters can take. Without further ado, barbarians can take a feat called Raging Courage. It allows you to spend an action to shake off being afraid, which lets you get back into the fight, which we assume gets rid of shaken, gets rid of frightened, gets rid of panicked. If something has too many hit dice or rolls 10 above your DC and crits you with something like fear, the barbarian can shake it off, run back in, beat that wizard over the head with his greatsword until he's a pile of goop on the ground. And I'm perfectly okay with that because A, fear effects are really rough, especially if you have a bad will save, and B, this is something we expect to see in 1st edition on like a mesmerist or a paladin or a cleric, somebody who is usually relegated into the healer role. This makes the barbarian more self-sufficient, and self-sufficient is wonderful. I like it a lot. On the subject of scare tactics, the fighter can pick a feat called Intimidating Strike, which lets you spend 2 actions to make an attack against a foe, and if that hits, your enemy is frightened and flat-footed, which, remember now, is just a condition that imposes a -2 to both your regular and touch armor class, until the end of your next turn. We don't know exactly what the frightened condition will do, but we imagine it's basically the same idea. Flat-footed most certainly sets up the rogue's ability to sneak attack. It helps people hit. It probably means that you don't have reactions, so everybody can set up around like an opposing fighter so it doesn't attack of opportunity. I know there's a lot of people out there, including the patron I shouted out, Joe Harvilla, who really like building the intimidating builds in Pathfinder. Hurtful and Cornigon Smash are two wonderful feats that we can stack onto things, but this is not the time to talk about that. The point is, it still exists in Pathfinder as we move forward to 2nd edition. This blog also talks a little bit about reactions. It reminds us again that the fighter has an attack of opportunity built in. If you'd like to see more about the 2nd edition fighter and what it can do, follow this card right here. But we also get to see a reaction in this blog that the druid receives. This reaction is called Storm Retribution. If you are a druid of the Storm Order, and by the way, what does that even mean? And a foe critically hits you, this feat allows you to unleash a powerful tempest on them in return, dealing 3d12 points of damage and possibly pushing them away. Now remember, in Pathfinder 2nd edition, it's going to be a little easier to crit because you just need to get 10 over someone's armor class to be considered a critical hit. So perhaps a build exists where the druid has maybe a little not so much in the armor class department, has this reaction, gets slapped, hits somebody for really hard and pushes them away, then the fighter goes and cleans it up, while the druid and maybe also the cleric just heal the druid back up so he can do that again. In addition, the wizard will be able to counterspell with their reaction, canceling out enemy magic before it can even take effect. Of course, we don't have any more details on that. Whether or not it works like it does in Pathfinder 1st edition, we'll just have to see. Now, let's touch on exploration mode real quick. Paizo calls this a free-form part of the game that allows characters to take actions as needed to accomplish tasks, investigate problems, and interact with other characters and the world around them. Traveling from place to place, talking to a merchant lord, and swimming across a river to a mysterious island are all a part of exploration mode, which is measured in minutes and hours depending on the flow of the game and the task at hand. Paizo goes on to note that skills and skill feats govern a lot of what you can do in this part of the game, along with your own role-playing and character backstory, which is related to your background. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about exploration mode. Personally, I used to be a big fan of running initiative at all times, even out of combat, to make sure that the spotlight hit everyone at the table. And sometimes I worry, especially in tables where there might be people that are a little more timid or aren't as good at role-playing, or on the opposite side of that, if I have somebody who's really charismatic and outgoing and likes to be the face, that sometimes people just don't get everything in, and I'm kind of worried that's what's going to happen in exploration mode. Though, of course, the fact that your action prior to combat determines what you roll for initiative kind of helps fix that, oh, I don't know, a whole lot. Rogues are rolling stealth, fighters are rolling perception. It's a whole new world out there, and I'm definitely going to try it before I knock it. In this part of the blog, Paizo notes that skill feats will not be unique to any particular character. If you have the right proficiencies, you can choose those skill feats. To quote the example that Paizo uses in the blog, let's say you really want your sorcerer to be in tune with nature. Not only could you put some of your proficiencies into the nature skill, not the knowledge nature skill, the nature skill, but now we can also take skill feats to let us use our nature check, our knowledge nature check to heal people, or even train an animal, which can then help you on your journey. Does this mean everyone gets an animal companion like a druid? I don't quite know. I imagine the druid will still have a more buffed animal companion, but if everybody with knowledge nature can at least have a baseline pet following them around, that still opens up a wide amount of roleplay. Again, your sorcerer now does not have to dip druid and then take boon companion to have an okay animal companion. They can just use skill feats. The last part of the blog touches on downtime mode, and we've heard nothing about that so far. In Pathfinder 2nd edition, downtime mode will be measured in days, and it allows you to accomplish large tasks when you're not, delving into a cave, killing everybody that's living inside that cave, and taking their stuff to the local flea market. The blog talks about playing a bard with expert proficiency and performance, and they might put on a couple concerts to make some gold, but we all expected that one. No, the kicker here is if you want to make your own weapons during downtime, with the craft skill, you can make weapons of a quality up to your proficiency. So expert craft skill can make expert weapons, mastercraft makes master weapons, etc., etc. But to quote Paizo, because this is the big one here, better yet, if you pick up the magical crafter skill feat, your dwarven fighter can even make magic weapons. This feat is available to anyone who is an expert crafter, making the creation of magic items available to all. They go on to note that scrolls and wands will require you to be able to cast certain spells to make them, and that's only sensible and logical. However, this blows the roof off of the downtime in Pathfinder 1st Edition. Anybody who's playing in a party of like 5 or 6 that's depending on 1, maybe 2 characters to spit out all the items knows that right now that takes a lot of downtime. For example, on Tuesdays over at the Inn of Planar Crossroads, yours truly, along with 5 other players, is playing Rise of the Runelords. If you'd like to watch us play Rise of the Runelords, I come in on session 30, but follow this card right here to be directed to that playlist. Presently, it's taking us 115 days for our one wizard with the crafting feats to make everybody's magic stuff. This isn't that huge of a spoiler for those of us who don't know, but Rise of the Runelords has a lot of downtime in it compared to other adventures and stuff, and we're still really far behind. If that same 6-man party can all have expert proficiency in crafting somehow or another, and take the skill feat Magical Crafter, everybody becomes self-sufficient, everybody can craft their own gear. It's no more waiting 150 days for the whole party to have a magic weapon and a cloak of resistance. Of course, we won't see the cloak of resistance in 2nd edition. If we all can just, real quick, let's all go enchant our swords, come back, the adventure picks up a lot faster. It's not about, 30 days later, the orcs have attacked wherever, and the wizard isn't done. You, sorcerer, here is your cloak. Druid, here is a staff. Rogue, here is a shiny dagger. And off we go. No, everybody gets their stuff done. Of course, with the coming of Resonance, this may be a little less strong than we're expecting it in Pathfinder 1st Edition, but it's still probably going to be really good, if for no other reason than a +1 enchantment on a sword now gives you essentially Vital Strike. We can all just stop real quick, tag it on, and then off we go to the next part of the campaign. Again, that is super huge, that's super relevant, and I think most optimized parties will probably take Magical Crafter, because again, that way everyone in the party is responsible for everyone in the party being up to date and having relevant gear. As a final aside before we're out of here, again, Paizo notes that retraining will now be a core part of the game. Retraining will occur during downtime, and it takes as little as a week, which is supposed to give you the flexibility to go on your next adventure with the right tools you need to succeed. They don't note a gold cost, they don't note something along the lines of you can't retrain XYZ. This might be reaching just a little, but if the retraining rules are universal and I can retrain from whatever into whatever, prerequisites aside I'm sure, that means not only can I play feasibly every feat in the game on a character to see what I like, it also allows me to stay reactive. For example, if the first part of an adventure takes place heavily in an urban area, I might have something along the lines of skill, focus, knowledge, local, which now is being called society. If I know I'm going out into the back end of nowhere for the next part of the campaign, I may very well retrain that skill feat into something like skill, focus, nature, so I can, pick up a wolf and make it my best friend, and also heal myself without using resonance on a potion. I'm super excited to learn more about retraining and how versatile it will make a character, but I think that's a conversation for another time. What are you guys thinking about 2nd edition so far? Are we still super stoked out there for new Pathfinder? I'm definitely still super stoked for new Pathfinder. As always, be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. We'll see you next time.